Anthony, I wonder if we can start with you. You lived this story. I'm sure many people have said to you over the years, this could and should be a movie, but when did it first sink in that that might actually happen?
Well, first of all, thank you all so much for coming out to see our story told. This is an honor to be here. But, really, it just really became a reality when Billy came over to our house and he was just sitting at the dinner table with my family and I just telling us that he would love to tell our story. And, that was a moment that was exciting on one hand, but then we started thinking about it more and more and it became kind of terrifying, right? Because it's like, okay, what are they going to focus on? How are they going to tell our story? Who's going to be involved? Are they going to care about the important things that we care about? But, we're just so blessed because this amazing group of individuals, their mission was to make us proud as a family, to produce something here that for the rest of our lives, we could just sit down with our family, with our friends, and this be our legacy and really make us happy. And it truly did. So we're just thankful to be here.
That's great. Well, William, some people may not know you have had an amazing career as a film editor. Just to name a few: Imitation Game, Zero Dark 30, won an Oscar for editing Argo, and now moving into directing for the first time. Can you talk about how long that's been something you've wanted to do and how this became the project that it finally happened on?
Well, I've been thinking about directing for like the last 10 or 12 years. I mean, ever since Argo, I was lucky enough to win an Academy Award. And, a lot of people kept coming to me, do you want to direct sometime? Do you want to direct? And I finally thought it kind of coincided with me feeling ready as a filmmaker. I mean, had the good fortune to work with so many brilliant directors, and I felt like I had gone to enough directing school, I guess, to do it for myself and tell a story. And then about 7 years ago, one of our producers brought me this project, and knew I was looking for something, and it just really hit home. I mean, it's such an incredible story, and as you can see, and I read Anthony's book, and was really moved by it, and flew to Arizona, like Anthony was saying. And once I met Anthony, I was in, because I mean, the story is amazing, but being with Anthony for those 4 days was, it was an incredible experience watching him interact with everybody who basically in Arizona seems to know him, basically. And watching that happen and watching the way he affected people, sort of cinched it for me.
Were you already somebody who was interested in, a follower of wrestling, or does that come with the movie?
No, that came with the movie. I feel like I've watched 1,000 hours of wrestling on YouTube at this point, and Flow Wrestling, but I'm this much of an expert now. But I did grow up playing ice hockey my whole life. I sort of get the sports world, but the world of wrestling is something completely unique and different. That was, the respect the wrestlers have for each other, the respect they have for the sport is almost like nothing I've ever seen in terms of athletics. And the more I learned, the more I understood like what great athletes these are, and the attention to detail and how hard they work. It was just extraordinary, and I feel like I'm a fan for life now.
I want to talk about how Jharrel and Jennifer came to this. And Jharrel, if we can start with you. First of all, we should note this is your first time as the lead of a feature film, which is a pretty big way to start. How did you first catch wind of this project, and what was the process of locking down the part?
Hello. I actually been a part of this project since 2019, before COVID, and before the Hollywood writer's strike. I kind of like almost a week after I won the Emmy for When They See Us in 2019. You know what I'm saying? Self-promotion. I actually got a call. It was my first time getting an actual phone call from my team saying, hey, there's a story and a project that wants you to be involved. And I'm like, what, me? And I go on YouTube and I look at, it was funny, I watched a 12-minute video interview of Anthony, and he's just so nice and so charming, and he lights up the room when he walks in, such a big smile. And I'm like, okay, wow, what a nice, gentle guy. Then I click the next video, and it's him in the middle of a match, like slamming this man down and holding him down for 15 seconds straight. And the beast in him, the monster on the mat, and I thought there was such a duality in there that made me go, yeah, hell yeah, as an actor, And then the rest, like he said, Anthony was my body double and my stunt double the entire film. I was number 1 on the call sheet. He was 1A. So everything that I did, he did with me. So as an actor, I don't think it's, to do a biopic is one thing, and then to actually spend so much time and quality time with the person you're playing, this became far more than just a film for us. This is a brotherhood now. And so I got to study my brother and do the movie.
So, Jharrel, you had played a real person before in When They See Us. Jennifer, you've done that going back to Selena, and I'm sure other times as well. When you heard about this project, does that make it more exciting, more intimidating? Before you met Judy and Anthony, just what was that? Talk about how you processed whether or not this was something you wanted to be part of.
For me, it is more exciting in a way because I did have such a great experience when I did the movie Selena and when I did the Hector Lavoe story. There's different times I've played real people, and this was, I feel like I know how to do that. I did that. I've been doing that, I guess, for a long time because I did Selena when I was 26 years old, So it was a long time ago now. And so I do like it because the same process I use for Selena, I still use, which is like kind of inundating myself with as much information as I can find and get. And I did the same thing with this, knowing it was a true story, reading the script, liking the script. I felt like I was signing on to do like a small part in a very important story about Anthony Robles. And then I realized how big a part she was while I was in it and while I got to know them and their relationship. But I didn't even know it fully until I saw the film altogether. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, these two really kind of are on this journey of life together, but they really raised each other. Judy had Anthony when she was 16 years old, and he was born without a leg, and she shared so many deep feelings about what that was like for her and how, she had to kind of grow up so quickly. And just gave me so many things about the not conflicting feelings, but like these deep emotional things that brought to her, and it really helped me do an amazing job. And it was the same thing I did whenever I play somebody real. It's just kind of like getting all the information, all the nuggets you can get, and whether they're in the script or not, throwing them in there and making it as specific and as real as you can make it and finding all the truth in it. And thank God Judy was very generous. I mean, I tried to make her feel as comfortable as I could, like, you can trust me. I'm not going to do anything except try to tell your story in the best way you can. And this is such a victorious, such a triumphant story, such a feel-good story at the end. But what makes it that is kind of the struggle and all of the things that they went through as a family that really makes it, like, really makes you feel like, wow, anybody can, really realize their dreams, and you just have to really stay focused and keep your head down and do the work and stay the course and be the good people and do that part of it. And so for me, it was a really beautiful story to be a part of. But yeah, same process as since way back when.
Judy, you find out that Jennifer Lopez is going to be playing you in a movie, and then you guys are going to have a conversation, I guess, about your just your story, things that maybe you don't talk about all the time. Can you just talk about, from your perspective, how this started to come together and getting to know Jennifer?
Yeah, when Anthony had told me a long time ago when he won nationals that he wanted this movie and there was this book, and I was like, okay. And then when it became her name, and I honestly didn't believe him. And I'm sitting here now, and I still don't believe it. So it was a very surreal experience because someone as talented and as iconic as Jennifer is to want to play me, it's very humbling. I mean, I'm just a mom who adores her son and has had a really long and painful journey. But like Jennifer said, we raised each other. We were there for each other. And for her to play it so beautifully, for Jharrel and Jennifer to capture the love that my son and I have for each other, in the good times and the hard times. Every little thing, the touch on the face and just everything that we have an unbreakable bond, and I saw that in this film. I felt it in this film. So I'm eternally grateful to you for doing this for me. I don't want to keep crying. She makes me cry all the time. But she's been very kind since the beginning, and I think that's what made it easier for me, that she was somebody that I can trust from the second we jumped on the Zoom, getting to know me, and I knew to be able to support my son, as I always do, I needed to open up and to be vulnerable, and she did it, and would say, if you're not okay with this, then let me know, and that's where the trust came from. So that meant a lot to me.
Nice. Well, absolutely. I wonder if William, you can lead off this next one, and then we'll move it over to Jharrel and Anthony. But I want to talk about the amazing depiction and believable, convincing depiction of top-level wrestling and how you guys managed to do this. I know there was a lot of work on the part of all three of you to make that happen, and so, William, can you set that up a little bit, and then we'll go down to the...
Sure. Well, as soon as I signed on to direct this film, the first thing I asked was if Anthony would do some of his own wrestling, because in watching all the matches, I realized there's no one. First of all, there's no one as gifted as him as a wrestler, and there's no one who can do the things he does as a wrestler. It's physically impossible. So I always wanted to be a combination of the actor, in this case Jharrel, obviously, and Anthony doing all the wrestling with visual effects. We're able to make them look like one person. It turned out that Jharrel had 5 years to train, so he got quite good himself. So, and I say that one of the wrestlers asked Jharrel if I think he wrestled in high school, or how long had he been wrestling, and it was like, I think probably the highlight of the shoot for you is when they sort of accepted him into the wrestling world. Like I said earlier, I felt such a responsibility to the world of wrestling. I just wanted this to feel really authentic. I mean, obviously my first goal was to make Judy and Anthony happy about this film. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility to tell a true story, especially with people that you've gotten to know so well and that you care about. And, it's their lives, and I never took that for granted. So, but part of that authenticity came from, surrounding the film or filling the film with as many real, all the wrestlers are real Division I and Division II wrestlers, all the referees, all the announcers, the coaches, everybody are real wrestlers. And, we had so many people like that infused throughout the film that it gives it, I hope, an authenticity, that would make the wrestling community happy. But, kudos goes to our visual effects team for making it seamless, and also, obviously, Jharrel for working so hard and getting so good at this. I mean, I think we got shut down by the writer's strike 11 days into the shoot, and we were shut down for 6 months, and I'll never forget how horrible it was to call Jharrel and tell him that we were going to be shut down because of how, he worked so hard to get ready, and then he was going to have to continue to work that hard for who knows how long. And, he called me about 2 hours later. He said, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to get fitter. I'm going to get better. And we were both like, we're making this film called Unstoppable about this family. How can we ever complain about being shut down by a writer's strike? So, and it turned out that he did, and he came back stronger and more fit, better wrestling. So it actually served the film.
There you go. Yeah, Jharrel and Anthony, I'd love to hear more about just how you did work together on some of the physical stuff, but also just being around each other obviously has to help you to fill in some of the blanks as you're trying to craft the performance, right?
It was definitely the most physically intense thing I've done in my life. I maybe 7 months of training, 5 years altogether, but it was very on and off. So I can't say 5 years. I wish. I'll be like this right now. But we did 6 to 7 months, 5 days a week, where basically my schedule was from 9 to 11. I was working out in the gym, trying to just get a wrestling frame. It would probably take me steroids in 3 more years to get to where this guy's at, but it was really about the frame and the confidence and understanding the gym. After that, I actually got on the mat with Anthony and his actual college coach, Brian Stith from ASU. And like Billy said, it's one thing to learn wrestling, but it was another thing to learn wrestling on the ground, the way that Anthony moves, and kind of like being nimble on my fists and my knee, and bruising myself a whole lot. Then after that, I learned how to move on the crutches, because Anthony could beat me in a race right now on these crutches. So I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable and it didn't look like I sprained my ankle 2 weeks ago and I'm just wobbling around. And you would call me often, like, how's the crutches? How's the crutches? And I'm like, it hurts, but I'm doing it. And then after that, learning the voice. Anthony has a very specific voice. I'm from New York, so I'm talking like water and coffee, and he's talking like water and coffee. And so just learning certain inflections. And as for being with Anthony so much, it was never any moments between us where I was like, yo, how did this feel? What is this like? I never wanted to ask any questions. I just wanted to observe and watch from afar. And luckily, although I'm learning wrestling and I'm new to this, Anthony's learning Hollywood, and film sets. And so I'm not just watching the confident wrestler anymore. I'm also watching the scared guy. And, he was very shy and coy in these moments. And I pulled a lot from that without him knowing. But I pulled a lot from it. And I think it informed a lot of the performance.
Anthony, from your side of things, it was, as Jharrel says, some new things for you too.
It was a whole new world, this has been such an amazing experience, and getting to work so closely with Jharrel, especially with the wrestling scenes. Like you heard, my style is very unique, and what made it really incredible just to work with Jharrel on was just the little details that he was really focused on. We'd show him the basic move, and then he'd just say, okay, let's see that again. I noticed you're doing this, the little things. He really captured it, and that's what allowed him to really soak it in like a sponge. With this high-level stuff, he was just able to pull it in, and really that's what made the intensity so good with the wrestling scenes, is we were able to basically go just full blast because Jharrel had gotten accustomed to everything that we were doing. Because at the end of the day, you can only pad up a slam so much. At the end of the day, you're still getting slammed on your face. But Jharrel, just really just committing to it. And also, it was a lot of fun for me just to get to go through the process. But like Jharrel said, he was never really just asking me questions. He was just getting to know me, the person. And we were just getting to hang out. And so that relationship really just formed organically. And it was neat for me just to watch the film. And still, every single time, because man, he really got me right there. The little body movements and mannerisms, he captured it to a T. And I'm blessed, man. He really did a great job.
Thank you, bro.
In a moment, I'm going to close by asking each of you what it's been like to watch this, and especially with audiences going back to Toronto and since. But first, William, this is not, I guess, what's your kind of assessment having now directed? Are you interested in doing it again? Are there, we were chatting earlier, and there have been a handful of, or I guess quite a few of the great filmmakers started out as editors, David Lean, Robert Wise, and on. But I don't know that they went back and did editing and then kind of go back and forth. Is that something that you plan to do now?
Well, yes, if somebody wants to hire me, yes, sure. No, I'd love to continue to do both. I have phenomenal relationship with several directors that I've worked with for over the years, and I love them and don't want to lose those relationships. And I love editing, but I had such a great time directing, and it's so different. I spend most of my life in a dark room by myself, and then to be on set with all these amazingly talented people. I learned that, if this phrase, "it takes a village," ever really hit home to me, just how great everybody was on set and how much they cared and how much they wanted to get this story right, and how talented everybody was, and just from everybody from the PAs all the way to Jharrel and Jennifer and the rest of the amazing cast. It was really, I don't know why, because I've been in the movie business for all this time, but it was so enlightening, and it was so it was like a one big happy family, and I want to have that experience again. So yeah, my plan is to go back and forth because I love them both, and they're so different. That's the plan.
That's great. Well, starting with Jennifer, you were there sitting next to Judy in Toronto for that first screening. I think it was your first time seeing it as well. What was that like?
It was pretty amazing because I'm sitting behind them, and really moved by the film, and I'm really, not surprised, but like I said, I was like, God, their relationship was really a major thing, and was happy with some of the things I had done, and thought everybody did such a great job, and Billy did a great job. I was just like, wow. And then the audience stood up, and they were clapping and really, really giving it an ovation, and all I could think was, Judy, Anthony, stand up. Get up, get up, get up. And they got up, and of course, the audience got more and more excited, and then I got up to kind of give them a standing ovation, and then I thought, no, sit down, let them stand up. It was a mess, but it was an amazing, amazing night, and to see how I encourage people. I know that, all these movies these days are not in the theaters, but when you get to have the shared experience, when you get to hear other people screaming and kind of like cheering and laughing, it's just so different than watching things at home and chilling,
true.
right?
Totally.
It was amazing, and I'm so glad that was my first experience, like of the finished film. So yeah.
Totally. It was electric there. Jharrel, anything you would add? I mean, you're sitting. I don't know if there really had been that kind of a moment with When They See Us, because it went out on streaming. Maybe there was a premiere or something,
Yeah,
but yeah.
I'm
But
tired.
yeah. So just for you that night.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Anthony and I have been kind of getting on a plane every other week, or every week actually, doing these Q&As and doing these screenings, and we kind of just keep having moments where I look at him and he looks at me, and we're just like, yeah. It's when an actor says this role changed my life, who knows what that really means. But for me, this role did actually change my life in so many ways, from the physical to the mental to the way I think and to the way I approach situations, my work ethic. But it also really brought me somebody new in my life that I will always be inspired by, and that I can always get on the phone in my lowest moments and pick up and say, hey, man, how do you do it? Because I can't do it right now. This has become so much bigger than a film and a project and my first feature. Whatever happens, I mean, shoot, I hope the best. But it's the look that Anthony and I share now that feels like just this was all worth it for 5 years of this now. And I'm just proud to be the guy who got to tell the story.
Well, I think if Judy and Anthony, if you'd like to close us out, just seeing your life kind of flash before your eyes is not an experience too many of us get. Again, and not sitting next to movie stars playing you either. So, just if you have any final thoughts.
For me, just getting to watch this film every single time, I tell people I don't cry, my eyes get sweaty. Every single time my eyes get sweaty, and I just believe, this amazing group of individuals, they captured the message that we wanted to get across from day one. And that message, it's that word unstoppable. That word, it applies to everybody if they're willing to grasp it, because the way my mom raised me, I've been wrestling my whole life, and it wasn't just against the flesh and blood opponents, and we all have something. We all have an opponent in our lives that we have to wrestle with. But the ultimate message here is that it doesn't matter what you wrestle. It doesn't matter what you don't have, the weaknesses. What matters is your strengths, the blessings in your life. And if you focus on those things as you're wrestling through your life, then you set yourself up to be victorious. And that's the unstoppable mentality. And that's what I know people, when they watch this film, they're going to walk away with that message saying, I can be unstoppable too. So that's something special. And, that's something that I'm just proud of.